Started off here in Boston from '89. How soon after did you make it to Memphis?
20 years ago, 2001, going down there, and I actually lived in Nashville for a little while too. Los Angeles.
You feel, as a musician that's passionate about playing, that, to stay around in your city and not to really move more about it. There's a lot of people are afraid to know what's out there. Musicians like, I'm going to go here and see what happens, but you'll never know until you do. But did that tact work for you? Did you just sort of get up and say, I gotta go see what else is out there?
Yeah, without any fear.
Were there fears in the back of your mind, do you think? Or do you feel you just, at that point you were cut out for it?
Yeah, I didn't know what was going to happen. But, I was just searching, and the inspiration.
As a guitar player, I checked out some links of you playing. You're a killer blues guitar player, too.
It's funny, I love the blues.
Yeah.
And I just did an album with Albert King's son.
Okay.
Which, Albert King, geez. I love the blues, and I could sit down and play it. I could stand up and play it for hours.
With you were mentioning playing Jerry Lee Lewis' club on Beale Street.
Yes.
You brought up some of like the you explained the environment. You're near this this river with this like majestic presence, and you're on Beale Street, it's crowded, there's people everywhere, the sun is beating down, it's 100 degrees, the music is, the music's moving air too, and it's a euphoric sense of, what it is all about, as you said. Was there anything, when you got to Memphis, outside of playing music, just in your as a person, is there anything that city did for you in terms of changing your perspective on America?
Oh, God, yeah.
What was it?
It's a whole nother world, It really is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Then, I spent a lot of time actually on my days off going to Mississippi. And, it's that delta's the triangle. And, at the top, there's Memphis, right? I'm a very big fan of Robert Johnson. And what's left of what we know. I'm very into searching for that. Being down there and playing music, it's definitely it is the place to soul search for anybody that is connected to the music of blues, early rock and roll music. I think everybody should get down to Memphis because it's like going to school. Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. Where else in America are you gonna experience? Is there another America besides that? When you think about it. We could talk about every nice place in the U.S., but history-wise, in terms of what made us and what broke us and what brought us together, it ain't New York. It's not California. It's not the Love Generation, and that's what really blew me away when I was down there. And it really made me when I went back and listened to all the music. And I wanted to hear this music while I was down there. From Nashville to Memphis and back, white and black music integrated. It was the only thing at the time, I believe, that kept a bond and kept hope that black and white musicians were working together. Yeah. That's an important concept at this day and age as well. It always has been and it always should be, but in this day and age. So I was going to talk about Elvis Presley because of Once Upon a Time in Graceland. That's going on next month, March 18th at Once Ballroom in Somerville, Mass. Not too far off from Graceland, decor-wise, upstairs in the lounge. But yeah, we're talking about Elvis Presley and Graceland and all this stuff. But, what's your first memory of Elvis Presley? What was it that as far back as you can remember? I was in a record store. And there was an album where he's on the motorcycle. Yeah, and it's got all the rock and roll stuff on there. He's on the motorcycle. And I didn't even hear his music. And I said, who is this? What's this about?
What age were you?
5, 6.
Okay, yeah. With first finding Elvis as a musician, what was it that you... Was it the music? Was it the persona?
I just thought it was so damn cool.
Yeah. Right.
I've always been attracted to entertainment like that, you know, I was just seeing pictures, you know, with Little Richard with his foot up on the piano, and you know, James Brown, the way he held that mic, you know, being a kid, you know, that attracted me. I said, this is something, you know.
Going back and, you know, thinking like, well, what will Elvis mean in 10 years, the 21st century and all? There's a younger generation that's not sure if they like him yet. I mean, there's a lot of young people that love Elvis, but, you know, in pop culture, you know, we had Public Enemy in 1989, the famous quote, Elvis was a hero to most. You know, coming from the black community, they were, in terms of thinking about like all the black artists that didn't get their due at the time, and a lot of people want to go after Elvis and blame him that he didn't give anything back. And it's a tough conversation because, you know, he was at the mercy of a record company and a record label. A lot of the artists who didn't get acknowledged or didn't get any you know, respect paid, if you will. I think it's unfortunate to blame Elvis because he really wasn't in control of his career, you know.
Yeah, but you know what? He was in control of his music, which is pretty cool. I mean, he's a producer. He put that whole band together.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we were talking about that after the comeback. He got those guys, James Burton, and you know, if you watch some of that video footage where they're rehearsing, and he's getting all that together and bringing in, he finally got, you know,
right. So
the gospel.
Yeah. I mean, an arranger.
Yeah, he arranged all that.
Yeah,
that's amazing. And on top of everything else, I mean, we could go on and on. The gospel. He served this country. I mean, got time to take out, meet the president. You know.
Yep. and with, you know, being an arranger of music is, you know, it's not short of being a producer or a songwriter. You know, he may not have put the lyrics down on paper. He may not have picked the guitar up and said, all right, here's the song I wrote. You know, there's a couple moments of him playing guitar and you knew you could play it.
Yeah.
When he comes right out, Baby, What You Want Me to Do, in the comeback special, 1968, where he comes right out. I think it was right after he said he wasn't doing it, and he came right out, grabbed the guitar, and he just starts jamming. Doesn't go right into the song, takes a few bars and just jams this opening blues. Like, it's just like, see, yeah, he can play.
I thought what's really cool is that guitar's hanging on Beale Street.
It is.
That one that he bought from Scotty. It's hanging in the Hard Rock
really?
Cafe.
Wow.
I mean, that guitar is such a...
Well, it's interesting what they decide to put in Graceland and what they don't. Unless they just always moving stuff around throughout the city.
Yeah, there's some stuff still, in the back, yeah.
Let me ask you, how deep into Graceland have you made it?
Well, you know, I got to play a few times in the car museum, which I thought was pretty cool because we were up there and I was doing a sound check, and I remember I had, you know, my Gibson plugged into the dual Showman. I remember hitting that E chord. And all his cars are in there, even the pink Cadillac, you know, where they originally had the stand-up bass on. I remember hitting that E chord, and I could hear, like, the metal in the car shaking. And I'm thinking to myself, that's cool. That's pretty cool.
What would you, if you had to pick any of Elvis's cars, which one would you take?
I don't know. I never messed with a man's car.
Well, it's like there was a movie called The King where they let this guy, filmmaker, take one of Elvis's pink Cadillac and drive it cross country. It broke down a bunch of times, but...
Oh, that was the Rolls Royce.
Was the Rolls Royce,
yes.
Not the Cadillac, yeah.
That's quite a movie.
That is and that's one thing I got to say. If I have to say anything based on where we're going, what we're talking about, Elvis's importance, significance, cultural, it's all in that movie. It says it all. And... yeah, I mean, you know, getting people to sitting in the back, even like some famous musicians, they just like lose it. I forget what musician it was. He's just in tears. He's like, I can feel him.
Even Mary Gauthier, whose Boston area was in that movie.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So I mean, you know, but you know, with all Elvis's car though, it's that the Stutz, the black Stutz.
I might pick that one.
Then there's that purple Lincoln.
Yeah.
That thing's badass. That's like straight up. Like when I saw that, and then
they just put that out.
Did they really?
Yeah.
Where was it? Where's it been all these years?
I don't know. It didn't have like Vegas plates on and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's probably been. Who knows what's going on? You know, there probably is an underground tunnel with all Elvis's. You know. stuff that we haven't seen yet. But that purple Lincoln, and then you go to Stax and you got Isaac Hayes' car spinning around. The two of them, they should have hung out. I can, you know, I mean, like 1973, you talked about Stax. Like, I could see the two of them. They're dressed similar. They were like one and the same. People were like, what are you talking about? I'm like, that's what I get out of it. I'm sorry.
Then you got then you got Jerry Lee's car, and we're like driving around like in the middle of the night, and then I want to take it down Beale Street with a.
Also, you were able to
with a casket out of the back and come out of it Halloween. They're like, Jason, you know.
So Jerry, you're saying Jerry? Jerry let you use his car?
Oh yeah,
really? All right.
Or the one from the '80s, the old Cadillac.
How far do you guys go back? You know, I guess I should just open it up and ask you.
Solid 15 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is he kind of like? Is he a paternal? Is there a paternal quality to him, or is he just like a buddy, a friend? You know. Because I would imagine like one of my heroes, if I got to sort of work for him or meet him or whatever. I mean, you know, it's a day in the life. We're all human. When you know, and that's the, you know, wake up, pal. It's celebritizing of these people and how iconic they are. When you finally get to meet them, I mean, it's just a guy.
Yeah.
Right?
I don't get nervous. I get all excited. I'm like, this is great.
Yeah,
this is
yeah.
like,
I mean, yeah, it's a thrill. I mean, and you know, with Jerry Lee Lewis's background, I don't know if I'd let him behind the wheel, you know, and crash the gates of Graceland again with Jerry Lee Lewis.
Oh my God.
That's one of my favorite stories of Graceland. I think Jerry. See, as a journalist, I'd probably piss him off and ask him questions that aren't none of my business. Yeah. But like, you know, I know like he was. Some people say he was stewing, you know, about Elvis for a while, because when Elvis was getting real popular, he'd try to get backstage to see him, and he'd always be a couple of times he was shrugging and really got on his last nerve.
I didn't know about that.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know how true all of it is. A lot of stories have been passed around, but there was one story where, you know, Jerry Lee was just going to make it clear that, you know, Elvis, me and you go back, and this ain't, you're gonna answer your door when I come and visit you. So,
well, actually, Elvis called him.
Okay.
Yeah, that was just before Elvis passed away. He was reaching out to Jerry Lee.
Was he really?
Yeah, he called him. Jerry Lee was down the street at the Vapors Club, and he went up there. And was it Elvis's uncle was usually on the gate, but I think it was some young kid who didn't know who he was. So
is that the tell? You better tell the king to kill his hair story. Or?
Yeah, so I think it was just a miss.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's, you know, and a lot of these guys don't speak about.
I know the guy who's got the gun.
Oh, you do?
Maybe I shouldn't have said that.
No, I can edit it out if you want. Just kidding.
Oh, Jesus.
Well, no, I mean, you know, there's the stories. If you think about the era of like when they were young and stuff, you know, and like it's an amazing tale of like, you know, the birth of rock and roll. Yeah, the music is there, but the stories behind the scene of, you know, who these guys were, and, you know, they weren't straightening themselves out, you know, for a while, and it's fun to hear the stories and go back. But yeah, I mean, I'm still to this day, like when I see that Jerry Lee Lewis is still with us and out and about, it's just amazing. Like some of these artists, you know, you sort of think that, you know, they're part of an era. A lot of people are still around, you know, and I don't know, you know, Jerry Lee's always been that person. People would be like, well, why don't you try to interview him? And I'm like, I'm not going to bother Jerry. You want to talk to some dude in Boston about his music, but, you know.
I can't believe I played at his house.
That's amazing, man.
With his band backing me up.
Wow.
And JW, his road manager, saying, well, Jerry doesn't want to play today. Why don't you guys keep going? I mean, you kidding me? Look at this.
So, like, what is with Jerry, right? Like, like the first time he heard you play, what was his reaction?
He liked it because I did a song that was written by Johnny Cash called Folsom Prison.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And I played that, and he goes, "That's it.
Yeah.
That's your own style."
And so you played it your own way. Like, is that the version you did with the House Rockers back in the day?
Yeah, he was impressed with that. You know.
You know, you when you take on a classic song, what are you putting into it of yourself, rather than, you know, you're not just emulating or just banging, you know, off the rhythms, but what do you as a performer try to put into your performances?
My own style. I have to. I I couldn't copy somebody. It wouldn't come out right.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if I had to play a lead like James Burton, I got to do it my way. You know?
Right.
Whatever comes out, you know.
Mm-hmm. So you listen to what's going on, and obviously you know where it's coming from musically, and then
Definitely always listening.
Yeah. As far as piano players, aside from Jerry Lee Lewis, are there any other piano players that have really been just wow, what are these guys doing? Any contemporaries or classics, like anybody that you really felt that had changed the game for you?
Preacher Jack.
Really? Tell me about him.
You know him?
No, I don't.
Boston.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, Boston piano player. He was on Rounder Records.
Rounder.
Yeah, lived in Salem, played all over this area.
Mm-hmm.
Check him out, Preacher Jack.
Preacher Jack. And so many names of people over the years that you just find that are local that have been doing the real deal,
Yeah.
The real deal.
Like yourself. I mean, we just met.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how did we not meet? Did we meet at the Old House of Blues one night? I don't know.
We might have. If I look familiar, it's possible. Yeah. I was there quite a bit. So
the original one.
Yeah.
Wasn't that great?
It was. I mean, especially when you think about what it was and who opened it and what it is, and not only Cambridge isn't the same place anymore.
Yeah.
But the House of Blues is certainly not the same place anymore. It had to grow, I guess. It had to be that next big venue run by a big company and all. But when you think about the original House of Blues and all the artists that would just go there were no other place where you could go see Jimmy Smith.
Yeah, I remember that.
Do a 3-night residency.
I saw Ike Turner there with the Kings of Rhythm.
Oh, wow, really?
Scotty Moore.
Wow, Scotty Moore at the House of Blues.
That's actually where I met Scotty Moore from Elvis's band.
And oh man, there's a lot. I mean, every day I want to kick myself for not being somewhere where I should have been. I was probably at home that night. I was probably at home a lot of nights back in the early 2000s and not realizing. It's like, people, go out and see whoever you can, because these clubs might not be around anymore and the people might not be. Scotty Moore. So you knew Teo then? Did you know Teo from the House of Blues?
Yeah.
He was the guy that pretty much brought all the talent, and I think he was he did all the booking, and he was a keyboard player.
Yep.
He was really tight with Jimmy Smith, and he's the one, when I started writing music, writing about music, he's the one that got me and said, look, you're a good writer, I'll give you all these artists. So I didn't get to play with all the greats, but I got to talk with a lot of them. And, I'm not going to pass that up, but boy, I would have loved to play because I know a lot of people, including yourself, you're out there, you put yourself out there, you say, I'm going to do this. I guess there's a lot of musicians that don't know how to take themselves seriously. Did you ever have a problem doing that?
No.
Really?
No.
Because that could have gotten your way immediately. It always felt right to you. It always felt complete. You didn't feel like did you ever feel as a musician that there were times that you did step out of your comfort zone and say, that's not for me?
I had the chance. Yeah, I didn't take it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It was supposed to be on a soundtrack. They wanted me to do a hip-hop version of Stand By Me.
Okay. Why did they want you to do that? What gave them an inkling that you may be able to pull that off?
Well, it was about 10 years ago when, they thought I had the 50s look. And it was a deal with, it was going to be, I don't remember the movie, it was J-Lo and all that kind of stuff. And they wanted me to do that hip-hop version, Stand By Me.
Yeah.
And have the 50s look,
and
I turned it down.
Are you happy you turned it down? Or would you have done it if that was offered to you today?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's tough.
I mean, I've
sound like you were really caring about your brand and image at the time.
Yes.
And that's important.
Yeah.
No, it's important. I saw an artist that you had done some work with. That's
Bo Diddley?
No, but I didn't know that. Actually, let's not even bring that artist up. Let's talk about the great blues guys that you've gotten to play with.
I got it written down somewhere.
He's like, I got a list somewhere.
In stone.
In stone.
Who was the guy you were going to mention?
Well, no. It wasn't a guy. It was a female artist. She was popular, pop artist of the 80s, Taylor Dane. Very popular, very big. Was that someone that you worked with?
I didn't work with her. I opened shows.
You opened up there, okay. And was she doing something different at the time? Was it like, because I mean, was she doing her shtick and all that? Or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, because that just seemed like a name that was thrown into your press release, where it seems like, wow, like, you know, like he did step out of the comfort zone a little bit, or, you know.
They loved us, though.
Yeah, of course they did. A gig like that, how do you get thrown onto a lot of gigs that aren't necessarily pairing with the style of music you play? Does that bother you sometimes? Or?
It doesn't.
No? Cool.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You mentioned Rounder Records. Robert Plant's a huge fan of Rounder Records, and he actually reached out to Rounder Records, and I don't think they're around anymore, or at least not in Cambridge.
Out of Nashville?
Rounders in Nashville.
Yeah.
So they were originally in Cambridge.
Just a few blocks from here.
Yeah, right down on
Camp Street?
Yeah, Camp Street on Mass Ave. So they're gone, but it looks like they went to the right place. They should have been there all along, but you had this cool, like, I don't know, was it a recording studio as well, or was it just a record label?
Well, a lot of their artists went to other places to record.
All right.
A lot of stuff over at Dimension Sounds.
Okay.
And JP. And
All
stuff.
right.
Yeah.
So Rounder was mainly, you know, they're a back catalog of some amazing blues,
Bluegrass,
reggae too. Reggae.
Yep.
Burning Spear had a affiliation with Rounder Records of his Heartbeat label, I think. So, yeah, you know, bringing Rounder Records up, I brought up earlier, I think I mentioned the Boston group, the Tarbox Ramblers, Michael Tarbox. They were playing quite a bit, and they were on Rounder Records, their first release, and Robert Plant was a huge audiophile, and he wanted every Rounder record. Anything on that label is good by him, because he was
really?
Yeah, he loved it. And he ended up getting a hold of the Tarbox Ramblers album and said, I love you guys. Came to see them at the Barn in Somerville.
Yeah.
Imagine being there that night. Robert Plant walks in and he's like, you guys are amazing. I'd love for you to come on tour with me. And they're like, what the fuck? You know, I don't know if it was a tour. I don't know what happened, but I know they ended up that summer they played the Garden, opened up for Robert Plant at the Garden.
That's great.
Yeah, and then, you know, it's like they didn't do much more after that in terms of big wig. They just continued what they did best, you know, play for people, city to city tour, and it's something about when a band or an artist like yourself is continuing the legacy of this music. It's important, because if at any point someone didn't, if at any point no one brought up Elvis Presley anymore, or Jerry Lee Lewis, or Little Richard, or any of these people that created this amazing, helped create this amazing music, they channeled it from somewhere that we're still trying to figure out where music comes from. Why do we care about it so much? It comes from within, but when you don't uphold these legacies and these important things, it's a scary thought that, you know, you'll lose it all. And some people fear that, but is that a fear? Do you think music will always have its roots and people will always find it? There's no way that, whether you uphold the legacy or not, how do you continuously show people what it's about as you get, you know, through more generations and more generations?
You know what it is? It's like what's going on right now. It's going on, but that thing, that simplicity of that heartbeat of rock and roll, that it's right there. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's not at the top, but it's right there. And anytime it could, where everybody's like, "What's this? This is cool," and then they jump on it. You know, like the swing era that happened at the end of the '90s.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I mean, it's like right there.
So, I mean, we make these things happen because it's collectively in our conscience and our culture. It's not going away.
I don't see how it could.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of purists who feel like
that Jason James with that piano racing down the Mass Pike.
It's not going away. That's Testament, man.
Oh, Jesus.
You know, country music. How big of a country music fan are you?
Well, the country music, as growing up as a kid in my house, that's what was there. It was right in front of me, all that country stuff.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All the records were in the house. Yeah. even like all the outlaw stuff, Jerry Jeff Walker and Hank Williams and Webb Pierce, all that stuff.
Webb Pierce, great stuff. I didn't grow up with that. I luckily found it all and had needed to know about the whole history of country music. Just the exploration of artists and music. Who is this guy? And then they're all connected. It's like even the guys that you mentioned. With country music, it's got even once again, we're talking about there's a country music establishment today that has been a monstrosity. It's been growing since the 70s of a Nashville music scene, which is, after being in Nashville, it's kind of nice that it's actually an industry somewhere, regardless of what the music sounds like sometimes. But the country artists, people are critical, purists, country purists, rock and roll purists, they'll listen to today's country and be like, that's pop music.
Yeah.
That's digitized, homogenized pop music. You're not going to get, you don't get the same essence out of that than you will from something that's, that's more, I guess, more tangible musically.
Yeah.
Do you find that, I don't know, do you find that industry bothersome at all? I mean, not to speak out against the industry, but do you find the genre and the way it's gone bothersome at all?
I'm not going to bring up any names.
No, you don't have to.
But I'll tell you this story. I was driving through Memphis and I was playing with the radio, and the song came on, and I heard the song. I thought to myself, "Oh, this guy doesn't have a chance at all.
Mm-hmm.
He's lucky he got airplay for one song." And then they said the name, and I went, "Oh, Jesus."
You can fill in the blank there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then there's guys that then there's guys that are really sincerely get what it's about. I mean, I haven't really followed him too much, but there's a fella named Billy Strings.
Yeah.
Great guitar player. I don't know. Chances are he made his mark on American Idol, as they all do now.
Is that what happened?
I think that's where all our musicians are coming from. And this is a scary thing when we're talking about...
Because he's taking off like a rocket. Yeah,
well, that's how you do it these days, right? There's no MTV. That's the MTV of our times. You go on. It's like, you remember. I mean, you're local. You're local. You remember Dave Maynard's community auditions, right?
Yeah.
That concept has gotten way out of hand, man. Because now the nation.
My sister was on that show.
She was on it.
Yeah. As a singer-songwriter way back. What was that? Early 80s.
Star of the day. Who can it be? Dave Maynard. There's a Boston-centric name for people. But yeah, Dave Maynard. See, here we go. American Idol, and I won't. I'm trying my hardest not to slam things that are new, because no one liked it when we were younger, and if this is the way the younger generation needs to get to understand their culture, and if they care about it, it's all there. If you care about it, if you don't, I don't know. There is an industry still there, and it tends to mislead itself a little bit. So as much as they say I'm not a purist, I feel I am, because I've always got to let people know. I wouldn't be doing this Elvis thing if I wasn't a purist, but to let people know that there's a history behind what is going on. If you don't know your history, whether it's just nation, political, music, or whatever, you don't really have as much fuel or fire that you can sort of wrap your head around it. There's not enough. You should be knowledgeable, I feel, about it. The reason why I wanted to bring country up is because it's such an important, what we're talking about, blues and everything. It's these guys,
the Grand Ole Opry.
Yeah, they had the same. A lot of these artists had the same. Whether it's American Idol or the Grand Ole Opry, people have always been going somewhere to play and have a chance at their music. So I guess the concept is not as old as we think, right? I mean, not as new as we think.
The Hillbilly Ranch.
Hillbilly Ranch, yeah.
Remember that place? Bill Monroe was down there and everything.
Really?
Oh, yeah. And the Lone Star Ranch up there in New Hampshire.
Okay.
Yeah, that's where all the country people came through.
Wow, all right. So there was a place locally for these people to come and play.
Oh, yeah.
Well, you talked about Elvis pulling people over, so that's a great story, right?
He pulled my bass player over.
He pulled your bass player over. And the story goes did he get out, and did he?
I've had this thing with bass players. I mean, Les Paul's son was my bass player.
Wow.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it was pretty cool.
Yeah, yep.
Yeah, I didn't get to meet Les, but being around his son, who just recently passed away, that's pretty cool to be around that. Inventor of the electric guitar and all that.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned Elvis had the motorcycles, the horses, the cars. He found time to ride these things late at night.
This is all in 20 years.
Probably even in the cusp of even 6 years before his death, right? But yeah, I mean, he was at it all the time.
Right around the. They're actually closing it right now where I live in Memphis. Right around the corner is the builder of the Supercycle.
The Supercycle.
Yeah, remember he had the motorcycle. They had the motor on the back.
Oh yeah.
Wheels,
Oh right, yeah, that was a thing in the 70s, wasn't it?
Pretty sad. Yeah, they're actually closing and like the stuff in there, and they're throwing in the dumpster, and no one really thinks about it.
Was that company the one that made the one that Elvis had, or was there only one manufacturer? Or?
That's the one that did all Elvis's. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. No, I mean it's crazy. I mean, but yeah, the stories. I mean, there's just so many. I mean, but yeah, I find them really entertaining because it was like we were saying, he probably felt like so pent up, like, and he just loved to mingle. He loved to go out there, and they'd always freak out. They're like, "Where did Elvis go?" And they're like, and one time he went to the movies by himself.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I mean, we've talked about a lot of stuff. I mean, with your career in music, it's just you must be doing something right, authentic, because you're attracting the right people. And when I say the right people, you're attracting people that I admire, that are affiliated with some of these legends and stuff.
I've met a lot of these people that were Elvis's friends, and some not around. Joe Esposito.
Oh, really? Yeah. George Klein, right?
Who passed away.
Passed away. Yeah.
I mean, George Klein introduced me many times on stage, and it's just like, wow.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
And, it's like the other day I was, watching the film of them carrying Elvis's casket, and I think to myself, half of these people are my friends.
Yeah. Yep.
I didn't know Elvis personally, but it's like, wow, to be that close.
Yeah, you do. I mean, I've just a couple people that I've interviewed having that opportunity when Larry Geller was a guy that was.
Yes.
He was great.
I haven't met him yet.
I don't know. People have mixed emotions about.
I've heard about Larry.
Yeah, Larry was an exceptional guy. He didn't fit the bill back then. He was this West Coast guy, very liberal. He wasn't cut out for the salt. So when he starts opening up to Elvis and finding Elvis's, curiosity, of spirituality, stuff that Elvis would only talk to his mother about the big picture and, life and death and things that scared him. It was apparently, and I wasn't there, I'm not part of that era or anything, but Larry is a very sincere, genuine person, and, he brings Elvis to you, and you can't interrupt him. He's got a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
He gives you what he's going to give you. He'll give you a couple of Q&A, but he really delivers quite a story about what it was like to be in an intimate setting with Elvis Presley and talking one-on-one. And I'm sure all the guys had that. They were all his friends. They knew him forever, but that was one side that I think everyone thought, like, this guy's feeding Elvis some really whacked out stuff and these books, but Elvis would make the mafia carry those 3 cases of books around. They hated it. I gotta carry these goddamn books around. So, like, anyhow, yeah, so I mean, that's just something, with, like you said, getting to know the people that knew Elvis, that brings it home. That must bring it home. You know what I mean? Really bring it home. And being in Graceland and wondering what it all is the first time.
Yeah, that first time's pretty special. Yeah, and you've witnessed that.
Yeah. Was it a particular room or a moment or something about, like, where were you in Graceland where it was just like, you felt like, whoa? Because it wasn't right when I walked in. When I walked in, it was like, I knew I walked into Elvis's house, but I was just a little like, for me, it was the Jungle Room.
Yeah. Well, that's where he did that last album. That's where he sang that song, Hurt.
Hurt, right? He recorded that
session.
The sessions, right?
Recorded in that room.
He made RCA come to him.
Yeah. That's great.
Good for you, Elvis.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Fuck them. they couldn't even mix an Elvis record right. And thank God for all these other guys who have come along over the years that have been like, let's get his band, let's mix the band a little bit better. You know what I mean? Especially these live recordings too. It was always like, if you were listening to the stuff on record, the music was buried. It was mono, and Elvis was sort of like, you know, in the forefront.
Yeah.
And that's what people wanted. They wanted Elvis Presley, but now some people want Ronnie Tutt, James Burton. They want some of the guys, you know, want to hear that backbeat for the era.
What more can you ask for one person?
Within less than 20 years or so. Yeah. No, you can't. Yeah, I mean, you know, we were talking about the era of like late 60s and stuff, 70s and all. It seems like there was a part of him that he was just, you know, keeping upholding for the fans. But, you know, it was a sad decline to watch someone like that. And it always makes me mad to see that it still happens. Artists are still, you know, they still sort of like, I don't know, it's inevitable. You know, it may come with the territory. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what makes or breaks an artist or anything anymore. We don't have those type of rock and roll icons that we kind of had today. I mean, nobody's really pushing the envelope in terms of who they are. Everybody needs to behave or they're going to lose their career and lose their jobs, and can't be throwing television sets out of the, you know, hotel anymore into the indoor pools, you know. I mean, it would have been great to be in Motley Crue, wouldn't it have been?
I had a friend of mine who was very in with the whole Elvis thing, and he told me that Elvis Presley wanted to record Love Her Madly by the Doors.
Wow.
And I thought to myself, you know what? I can hear that.
That would have been interesting because Jim Morrison was a huge fan of Elvis.
And Frank Sinatra.
So you know where I'm going with this. So I was just on the phone earlier. The keyboard player I have in the band currently, very much a Ray Manzarek fan.
I got to meet him.
You're gonna meet him. He's
coming back.
Oh yeah, he's a French guy named.
I thought you meant Ray.
Oh no, Ray. I interviewed Ray Manzarek.
Really?
2010. A couple years before he died. I got to talk to all of those guys.
Was that when he did that show for Gary?
Yeah,
I remember that.
Right here over at at the Wang, was it?
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Last time he probably came around. Before he died.
Yeah.
When I talked to him, I didn't realize he had cancer or anything. But me and him, like, I'll share that interview with you if you're a Doors fan, because he, I mean, he turned the interview around. I was asking him questions, and he made very, very good to turn it around. He's like, well, what do you think? And I'm like, I answered his question, and then another question came, and another question came, and I'm like, this guy's interviewing me now in my own interview. I'm like, I'm gonna let this happen. Because he's asking me questions, and then this is great. So Ray Manzarek interviews Charles. Oh. The tone that we just talked about, Jim Morrison, Elvis Presley, Jim Morrison's persona on stage for the time, right when Elvis was sort of dwindling out of the hands of teenage girls. Girls grew up a little bit, and then they got another guy with longer hair in leather pants. By no means even close to Elvis Presley of what he did to music and all. But he's sort of a protege of what Elvis created. A lot of singers were. But with Jim Morrison's voice, what if you have a project of Elvis sings the music of the Doors?
That's perfect.
I think that's going to be the next project.
Sign me up.
I will, man. I don't however you want to come aboard. Yeah. You know, but yeah, no, I mean, that's great. No, so I mean, you know, when you talk to someone, you know, who has such an appreciation for the music that you do, and that's your main focus and drive, and that's where you want to perform. You've branded yourself this rock and roll performance artist, you know, but you know, you're a guitar player too. Don't not know that Jason doesn't play a mean guitar, slide guitar. Sick, dude. I watched some of that. I mean,
what song was it?
I don't even know. You were outdoors playing somewhere, maybe years ago.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'll have to look it back up, but yeah, I mean, it was a while ago, I think. Yeah. But yeah. So when when you unleash the mind of an artist, you can find a lot of other things there, from Elvis to Jerry to Ray Manzarek. I definitely keep track, and we got to wrap things up in a second, but I definitely keep track of like people who are doing their homework, paying attention, and just keeping the sound of what I call American music alive. You know, and that's not a nationalist thing, folks. That just means that's where this music sort of came about, and it's floored everyone. That's why the British are always reminding us of how great our early roots, whether it be rock and roll or blues. You know, be it Led Zeppelin, John Mayall and the Blues Breakers, Cream. Like, hey, America, you got this amazing music called blues. Pay attention to it more. And there you have it. All right, you're at Once Upon a Time in Graceland. You're going to be backed by Tsunami Sound for a few songs. Let's see.
We just played in Cranston, Rhode Island.
Yeah. Just tell me about quickly how you know these guys, and
Tsunami Sound. I've known them. I want to say a little over 10 years, and we played a few gigs together. And I've been on the road all over America. Like I said, using other bands, using Jerry's band and Little Richard's band and stuff, and other people, and just staying in contact with those guys. And this came about, and I was just like, what if I get in there and just do a couple songs with you guys?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I appreciate the fact that you're doing the show. I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, there must be something special about it. There's something special about it, resonating with everyone. So maybe I'm just bringing that energy from Graceland, but what have you. So excellent, man. I appreciate your time. It's been good talking with you today.
Thank you, Charles.
Yeah, no doubt, man.
Well, I hear that train a-coming, baby. It's a-rolling around the bend. Honey, I ain't seen the sunshine. I said, once I don't know when. Come on, baby, I'm stuck in a false prison. And time keeps dragging on, baby. Yeah, but that train keeps a-rolling, baby. Right down at the center town. Yeah, when I was just a baby, well, my mama told me, son, said you ought to be a good boy, don't you? I never mess with gun, here, but I shot up for you, Memphis, but I didn't mean to watch him die. Yeah, when I think of a Memphis, Tennessee, good Lord, yes, I hang my head and cry. Yeah, you're gonna cry. The railroad train was mine. Yes, you bet I'll move it on a little further down the line. I swear it's a far from a Folsom prison, baby. Lord, that's where I need to stay. And I'll let that lonesome whistle, baby, go ahead and blow my blues away. Life is a rich folks eat in a Cadillac car, drinking Jack Daniels whiskey, smoking a big Cuban cigar. Well, I know I have it coming, baby. Lord knows I can't be free. Torture me, baby. Yeah, but them women keep moving, good Lord, and that's what tortured Jimmy Lee. I don't know when. Come on, baby, I'm stuck in a boat to Graceland. Time keeps up, dragging on, baby. Yeah, but that train keeps a rolling, baby. Right down to the vet at San Antonio. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Great and Nobody Free. Oh, let it rip, boy. That train keeps a rolling, baby. Right down there to San Antonio.